The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want.
Other people who were implicated, who could have helped, did they? The answer is no. There was one standout, President Trump. Let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein. So here's the thing. We covered the files as they were dropping. There was a lot of misinformation out there. And you have misinformation from the left. You have some misinformation from the right. And then you have a lot of people who were kind of in your corner, who were wearing your team jersey, who flipped on you. So I want to give you sort of the rundown, the map here. What we'll be covering, all the references are available. That way, by the time you leave this, I'm hoping that you have a good handle on the whole Epstein saga and where we stand. So first, we're going to go through a recap, right, all the way up to and including the absolute trust me suicide. Then the flip-flops, the inconsistencies from key players that have disappointed you. Then the unanswered questions that we have, and there are a lot of those. And then finally, what we know now, because some questions have actually been answered. They're important, and they've been glossed over in the era of you're guilty, Trump's guilty. So recap, flip-flops, inconsistencies, unanswered questions, and then what we know now. So a lot of reactions right now to the Epstein files, and I want to crystallize this for you with a reaction from, and it's not lost on me that it's satire. Tim Dillon hosts a comedy show. I don't know that this is Stephen Colbert's satire character versus expressing an opinion, but it has been received as a legitimate opinion and then echoed by many other accounts. This is everything wrong right now with the Epstein situation.
She has one thing left to do, and it's destroy Trump, because I don't know what Trump was a part of, but he's probably some underage people, I would imagine, and God only knows what else. He's been accused of horrible things in these files. Now Trump's saying he likes Bill Clinton. Play this, because Trump knows. Here's what Trump knows. Trump didn't fear Hillary when she had something to lose. Do you understand?
What?
When Hillary needed the dark overlords, when she needed them, he didn't fear her. Now that she doesn't need them and she's about to slip her skin suit and go back to her home planet, he knows that she will go in front of Congress, there she is, with her husband, Bill, and they're going to light this on fire. They're going to talk about Trump. They're going to talk about everything. Let's play the video where Trump is talking about liking Bill Clinton. But
it bothers me that somebody's going after Bill Clinton. See, I like Bill Clinton.
Oh.
I still like Bill Clinton.
What do you like about him?
I liked his behavior toward me. I thought he got me. He understood me.
He's guilty. It's guilt. This is guilt. This is guilt.
All right, so this new report that everyone is circulating, it's not really new, just to be clear, but it's included in some of these files. It's a Palm Beach police chief, I guess, writing its report. He told the FBI that Trump, President Trump, not president then, alerted the authorities regarding Epstein, 2006. Okay, people are circulating this as though it's new. This also happened when we recirculated about 7 years later the marriage certificate of Ilhan Omar. And other people were saying breaking news, and we had to say, no, that's not breaking news. Like, we did a whole Taking Back Sunday parody like half a decade ago about this. This is not new. And then people get mad. They go, why are you cramping the traffic? It's like, no, we just don't tell people it's new. So this is a new report, but it confirms what we have been telling you for a very long time. Anyone who is not aware that Donald Trump was the one cooperative individual who helped authorities when they were dealing with Epstein hasn't been paying attention. We've been telling you this for years. It's not new. Bradley Edwards, who was an attorney for the Epstein victims, confirmed in 2009, like I told you, President Trump was the only notable figure to immediately and fully comply with subpoenas on Epstein.
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009.
Okay, so now you have those on the left in black pillars saying, well, still, he only did that out of self-preservation because at that point they were onto him. Okay, does it exist in a vacuum? Other people who were implicated, who could have helped, did they? The answer is no. There was one standout, President Trump, not president then. To be clear, doesn't mean that he's been flawless on Epstein. I think there have been a lot of missteps. Let me first go through the timeline for those of you who missed it initially. 2004 to 2005, there was a 14-year-old girl. She reported abuse at Epstein's mansion. That's when Trump ended his friendship with Epstein. In 2008, he got 13 months, sweetheart deal. Back then, 2015, the flight logs were unsealed. We brought those to you. 2019, he was arrested on federal sex trafficking charges. Then in August of 2019, dead. Right? We'll go through that, but you guys were told he killed himself in a way that seems highly, highly implausible, if not necessarily possible. July 2021, Maxwell sentenced to 20 years for sex trafficking, allegedly trafficked only to Epstein and herself. And then in 2025, Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act, early 2026. So those documents have been subsequently, some of them released, kind of done in batches with a lot of redactions. And a lot of them were already publicly available. That's not lost on me. So there's the recap. You can check out the references. Let's go to the inconsistencies here that are really bothersome. And I would say all of these are bothersome. Inconsistency number one. Key player, obviously, the FBI Director Kash Patel. Back then, he was convinced there was a cover-up, and he was saying you shouldn't take these people's word for it until he was obviously whisked to a position of power and said, no, there's nothing here, take my word for it.
Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. You don't think that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list? Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are. We have an election coming up, and we need to adjudicate this matter at the polls. God knows the FBI and DOJ aren't going to do anything.
What about the video from the island?
Oh, sorry. So you're talking about two different things.
Yes. Sorry.
So again, we're going to give you everything we can, and people have to remember, we're not going to re-victimize women. We're not going to put that back out there. It's not happening, because then he wins. Not doing it. You want to hate me for it? Fine. Again, logical play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island, and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
Is there video from the island?
We don't know.
I don't think that, actually.
Not of what you want.
Very vague in the answers, right? We went from this should be public, people have a right to know, where, but, you know, we're not going to re-victimize people. And don't you think I'd show it to you? How about you give some answers? And here's the problem, too. We're going to get to Pam Bondi. These people who have been tasked with providing you answers have insulated themselves from having it required of them. That's a problem.
Also spoke really, really big about doing it.
Yes.
And then got in there. And listen, I understand the re-victimization thing, but I also feel like it's a bit of a cover. How about this? How about all of the victims that have publicly come out and talked about it already? You're not re-victimizing them.
Right.
Because they want justice.
Right.
And you did too in 2023. Put on your big boy pants, Kash, and let us know who the pedophiles are so that we could adjudicate this at the election. There's one coming up in November. I just need to quote you to you. Do the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I understand, look, if they found some information, new information, that made it really clear the story we were given is accurate, then they need to clarify that. They really haven't done that. I'm not going to say they haven't done a good job of it. They haven't attempted to.
We'd accept it too. Show us the evidence. We're right there with you. Tell us to trust me, bro. We're not.
Well, that brings us to Bondi, the worst person in this administration, and that's why we didn't cover her hearing ever. I don't like her, and I want her to go away. She'll probably get a Fox News contract or a book deal, as many people do. She promised to release the files that were on her desk, filled with Epstein's disturbing crimes until, but that's not really what I said.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to
Specifically
review.
clients.
That's been a directive by President Trump.
You said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk. When can we see them, and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. What you're going to see hopefully tomorrow is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information, but it's pretty sick what that man did.
Okay, well, we'll
along
look
with
for
his
that.
co-defendant. In February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well.
200 victims,
That's what
though.
I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day.
And then we go to the moral grandstanding. Look, we all agree child pornography is bad. No one is saying release child porn. You said 200 victims. You answered on the client list. At best, if we're being very gracious, you're a horrible communicator and shouldn't be doing this job, and certainly shouldn't be spending the majority of the time on said job communicating on Fox News. At most likely, you didn't actually review it. You were clout chasing, and you gave people information that was incorrect. Because when she goes, well, I didn't have time for this. Well, you did have time to hang some social media influencers out to dry with the whole binder spectacle. Remember, this is the biggest PR misstep in this administration.
Not what they are holding up, so they're going to zoom in on that, and let's see what it says. Okay, so there's DC Drano right there on the screen, holding up various. I mean, it'd be great if you could walk a little closer.
And then remember the fallout from that. You had some people who were more straightforward, like Haya from Libs of TikTok, saying, "Well, this is what I was told. I didn't know, so I'm making this available. There's not a lot of new information there." Then you had some other people from that say, "Oh, look, guys, I got new exclusive information," and it was less information than what was publicly available. That makes people think, and I would argue rightfully so, that you are hiding something or that you are incompetent. It's not crazy for people to think that there is something here considering your words, your promises, and the fallout thereafter. It's your fault. And that brings us to inconsistency number 2. Just calling balls and strikes here. Check all the references. We make them available every show. It's a bibliography. President Trump. He went from saying that he would release the files and to be clear, referring to the Epstein hoax, he was referring to the idea that he was involved. But again, the communication was horribly miscalculated and led people to believe where there's smoke, there's fire. You gave the media a win. This was bad too.
There's a moment where you had some hesitation about Epstein, releasing some of the documents on Epstein. Why the hesitation?
I don't think I'm not involved. I never went to his island. Fortunately, but a lot of people did.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it. So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
And to be clear, he's saying it's a hoax, that he was involved or he was implicated. But here's the thing. I get it. He's not wrong in saying that, especially in today's era of misinformation with conspiracies, no matter what you give people, it's never enough. They want more and more and more. I understand that. That's a valid point. Let me ask you this. Would you be satisfied with client list, victims, and people being charged and brought to justice? In other words, if you had some examples of those, wouldn't that help?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Client list, top of my list there.
There you go. You don't have that. and you're being told to believe, well, it actually doesn't exist. Okay, I will tell you this, I don't believe that. I don't make the leap that I know exactly who he was working for and which governments were involved with the blackmail operation. I can't prove that. But I absolutely believe that there was a client list. I absolutely believe, based on what we've seen from the flight logs, that there's information there that would incriminate people. And I absolutely believe that if this Justice Department, FBI wanted to, some people could be brought up on serious charges. That I can't prove it. But the good news is, it's not my job to. We actually supported people, and it's their job to. And doesn't it bother you when those people go like, well, if you think you could do a better job, you do it. Yeah, except none of us are being asked to work at the FBI, where none of us are being made the head of the DOJ. It's your job. That's like saying, if you think you could win the Super Bowl, then you come be quarterback. Well, that's not my thing. My thing is here, by the way, 11 a.m. Eastern. If you're watching the clip, 11 a.m., you can tune in every day on Rumble. 11 a.m. Eastern. We don't miss a day. Okay, you do it, Josh.
Yeah. Oh, what are you guys doing?
Electroshock therapy.
Oh, obviously, but why?
To wake us up, of course.
Yeah, and to get amped, we got a show to do.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. You don't have to do this, okay? You don't have to do this. There are better.
Think gay thoughts. I hear electroshock is good for gay thoughts.
No. Stop. Listen, guys. There are better ways to wake yourselves up, okay? Okay?
Good point, Gerald. We forgot to wet the sponge. The electrical.
Stop whatever in the green mile you're doing right now and just try blackout coffee. You know the guys that you worked with to make the strange animal blend? Ring a bell?
Why don't I remember that?
One guess. Here.
That's good.
Yeah.
Let me try.
Yeah.
Yeah, you take these.
Okay.
Abba's
Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Crowder. Use the promo code Crowder for 20% off your first order and try the new exclusive Strange Animal Brew. Yes, I chose the beans. It is the blend that we drink here exclusively, and now I'm making it available to you. Inconsistency here, number 3. Democrats and their flip-flop. And this looks really bad when you have strong conservatives flip-flopping to want this to go away, and at the same time, Democrats who really didn't want to talk about it now saying, ooh, we smell some blood in the water. Let's be a dog on a bone with this. Let's keep harping on Epstein. So there were no bills, there were no subpoenas, there were no hearings during 4 years of Biden as it related to Epstein. There was no call from anyone in the Democrat Party of note to do anything regarding Jeffrey Epstein. Pelosi, along with her stock portfolio, refused to answer when questioned on this.
Madam Speaker, can I ask you real quick if you think the Jeffrey Epstein files should be released? Congress needs to release them?
Absolutely.
Why do you think Biden didn't do it for 4 years? Do you know why they didn't do it? Do you think they should have?
And by the way, we'll get to what we know later on, and some pretty strong connections with people in Joe Biden's inner circle who he may have wanted to protect. Again, just asking questions, big guy.
All he had to say, they're weaponizing it against me. They had 4 years to release it. They didn't. I wonder why. Instead of hoax.
Right.
And we're right there with you.
Yep. And now you have people in this administration who have flipped the other way, Democrats who have flopped the other way, and none of it looks good. And you're wondering, hey, which way is up here? What's the truth? And I get it. It's really hard to determine that because right now it's all that all of a sudden Democrats want to talk about.
Well, that's the question every American is asking. Or not every American, but so many Americans are asking. What the hell is he hiding?
The American people deserve to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as it relates to this whole sordid Jeffrey Epstein matter.
Let me be very clear. We need a full release. Anyone who tampers with these documents or conceals documents or engages in excessive redaction will be prosecuted. We need full transparency and justice for the survivors.
Democrats didn't put the Jeffrey Epstein thing into the public domain. This was a conspiracy.
He really looks like a
that
villain
Donald
from
Trump,
Blade.
Pam Bondi, and these MAGA extremists have been fanning the flames of for the last several years.
Right now, today,
You just called it a conspiracy.
Pam Bondi and Donald Trump have the power to release the full files and Epstein records today, tonight, right now. No one is stopping them.
Okay. Well, you guys were stopping it for 4 years. This brings us to inconsistency number 4. The victims were not only mostly silent under Biden, but they certainly weren't given the coverage or the amplification that they have been given now. And more importantly, they weren't given the financial resources and the media platform to be as vocal as they are now, as seen by this ad released at the Super Bowl.
That's messed up.
After years of being kept apart, we're standing together.
Standing together.
Because this girl deserves the truth.
Because she deserves the truth.
Because we all deserve the truth.
And I will say, I don't like the politicizing of this any more than you do. If people were victims, if people were sex trafficked. Yeah. Look, Donald Trump is the president who did more to clamp down on sex trafficking than any modern president. And Biden undid all of it, to be clear. The messaging is bad. And we've also talked about, Elon Musk has been pretty transparent. He obviously was named in these files. We brought that up. He answered for it. He's been pretty consistent. He actually said that he would help them if they got sued. He wrote, "I will pay for the defense of anyone who speaks the truth about this and is sued for doing so." And that's good. He's not running from it. Take notes, Trump administration. And by defense, I should note, he meant his new prototype AI Optimus Terminator.
Ooh, baby.
It's what happens when you give
just don't know.
an autistic guy technology.
That's who's going to govern the Moon City.
Yeah, exactly.
With an iron fist.
We're going to have a monkey who's like Arnold, and we're going to have cars that talk to each other.
And to the monkey.
Yeah. That's one giant step for Monkey Terminator. It's fun to have an autistic guy who can actually help develop stuff.
He's doing a good job.
Here's inconsistency number 5. And there's just no way to tiptoe around this, to be clear. And this is not a condemnation of any individual as though they have done something wrong, except for Pam Bondi. She sucks. People who were incredibly skeptical. Now, I was skeptical, and I still am, to be clear.
Yep.
I don't have any information that would have changed my mind as it relates to the story we were sold regarding Epstein's suicide.
Because we haven't been given it.
Exactly. I could be wrong, but there's nothing out there that tells me I or you are wrong. Occam's razor is still the same. It's very unlikely that he killed himself, and there's more information that makes that seem even less likely, which is why this inconsistency stings quite a bit. And it stings even more when the people who are parroting it insulate themselves from ever providing any actual answers. Those who were skeptical, like you, me, you and myself, you and I'm getting confused in my own phraseology here. They now have said, no, he absolutely did kill himself. What you were told, they were telling the truth.
The questions surrounding this alleged suicide are numerous. How, of all the people not on suicide watch, how did this guy make the list? He clearly was open about efforts he felt to kill him. Clearly there was an incident a week ago where there were allegations of self-harm. How was he not on suicide watch? How exactly did he do this? When you see how the cells are laid out, how high they are, how there's not really anchor points or anything, how they don't really give them a lot of metal and things to work with, and even the sheets they give them aren't like weight. They're not capable of bearing weight. Again, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just asking legitimate questions here. How did this happen? How was he not on suicide watch? How mechanically did this actually happen?
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
That may be so. Other people haven't.
Yeah.
Other people have not. And I will tell you this, more qualified than many, not because I have a job at the FBI or the DOJ, But for those of you who are new, we recreated Jeffrey Epstein's cell down to the millimeter, used a force meter to see if it was possible for me to commit suicide in the way that we were told in that cell. By the way, in the most charitable way possible to see if it was plausible. This was done in 2019. Cost a lot of money, a lot of resources. Link in the description. You can go watch it. I will tell you this. I really don't think that he did it.
Gerald, you have to wheelbarrow me.
Okay.
You have to wheelbarrow me.
Mr. Kremer appears to be requesting a wheelbarrow move.
55, 56.
56. He achieved 56 on the neck and 58 on the road.
You're out.
My neck was sore for weeks. It looks silly, but we actually did have nurses, and we actually did engineer that thing pretty good, pretty damn airtightly for something that silly. So the questions that I had before that, and by the way, it's even less likely when you take into account, like Dan Bongino said, the kind of sheets that they use typically would not be able to withstand that amount of torque, that amount of force. And the way that Jeffrey Epstein would have had to do it, not hanging straight, but at an angle, that can add exponential torque. You know this when you have to hang a hammock, for example. You don't just say, what's the weight? What's the angle of the hanging? So the questions that still remain, all right, we don't know how the officers fell asleep, and falsified records about wellness checks or required wellness checks every 30 minutes. We don't really know exactly. Oh, it's just a glitch? That's the easiest. A glitch? The surveillance footage went out?
We were told at first that it didn't exist.
Yeah. Somehow he managed to fracture not just the hyoid bone, but he fractured something in his cervical vertebrae that would require quite a bit of force to fracture. He was taken off suicide watch despite a suicide attempt 18 days prior. We don't have answers to that. Here's one that could really be answered, though, because people will just say, oh, it's a glitch. That was an error. All right. How about this? Just laser in and answer these questions. His cellmate. And I don't know that we covered this a whole bunch. George the Greek really did some good research on this.
I didn't know he had a cellmate.
Yeah, Nicholas Tartaglione. He was Epstein's cellmate during the first suicide attempt, right, 18 days earlier. This was not just a run-of-the-mill criminal. He was a corrupt cop. He was an organized drug trafficker. And he was a murderer, serving 4 life sentences. Okay? Some questions there. None of those have been answered. Here's what we do know about Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? Just kind of try to cut through the fog of misinformation out there. Epstein built a network of the most influential people on Earth. The lists that we have publicly available, everyone from Bill Gates to athletes to Bill Clinton,
royalty,
to comedians, royalty, and amongst them, not included Donald Trump as far as someone traveling to that island, to be clear. There were a lot of political figures who continued their relationship with Epstein after his conviction in 2008 for sex crimes, meaning they knew it. Donald Trump worked with authorities. These other power players continued to be friendly with Epstein. Let me give you a few of those names. Ehud Barak, the former Israeli prime minister and defense minister, over 60 meetings, stayed at Epstein's home in 2016.
Wow.
William Burns, the CIA director under Biden. Peter Mandelson, the British cabinet minister under Keir Starmer. He was the one who, there was a leaked confidential 2009 Downing Street memo to Epstein. It was leaked. He resigned, by the way. Peter Mandelson resigned after the latest dump and leaks specifically. Hey, there are some questions. He thought that there was enough there to resign. I guess we'll just say shame. This warrants some questions, and it certainly warrants some investigation, some answers from the people who were supported into these positions of power to do, among other things, specifically this job. It's not the most important thing, to be clear, but it's one that we can laser in on. It's one where we think, hey, our guys can do a better job, and they just haven't been. Howard Lutnick was another person. He was the U.S. Commerce Secretary. Claimed that he cut ties with Epstein in 2005, but then the emails show that Lutnick maintained ties into the 2010.
And in fact, he's being asked about that today, this morning, just a few minutes ago, and we've got a 1-minute clip of him addressing that exact thing.
Okay, let's watch this.
Lutnick, I think you understand the root of concern here. It's the way you described very emphatically your first encounter with him.
Walked in,
His apartment.
saw a massage table,
disgusted,
left disgusted,
never
wife, never going to come back to this guy. That's 05.
Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation.
You don't let them
We
borrow
were
them
not
for a week?
apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about that in 2012, I don't recall why we did it, but
Mr. Secretary, again.
And to be clear, his initial statement was 2005, saw a massage table and walked out?
Yep, 2005, walked in. He was neighbors with Jeffrey Epstein, it was just chance.
Okay.
Walked in with his wife, saw the massage table, said, what is that there? How many massages do you get? He goes, I get them every day, the right kind. He said, then I looked at my wife, we looked back at him and said, we'll be leaving now. And he said, this man was gross. That's 2005. So you're telling me that you're on a boat in the Bahamas around Jeffrey Epstein's island, ring, ring, hi, this is Jeffrey Epstein, the creep that lives next door or close to you?
Yeah.
You want to come to the island with your family?
You want to bring your kids to lunch?
In 2012, I think?
No, it doesn't mean that anything else happened. He might have
No,
felt
of course
pressured
not.
to. I get it. But the
don't
problem
lie.
is the way that he described
Right,
it,
exactly.
and that warrants follow-up questions. The follow-up question would be, well, then why did you say your only interaction, or imply that your only interaction was in 2005 where you saw a massage table and walked out? And then I would ask a follow-up. Why did you walk out? You were disgusted. So am I to assume that you knew what Jeffrey Epstein was doing? That's why you walked out in disgust? Okay. Then why would you bring your family and children around him?
Yep.
And have lunch on his island? For some reason, these are the kinds of questions. I want to un-gaslight you. You're not crazy for thinking you would ask those questions.
Right.
Everybody would. Just not those who volunteered as tribute for you. Here's what else we know. Check the references. He abused minors, and of course, he was facilitating exploitation, sex trafficking. Maxwell's involvement did indicate, obviously, systemic abuse, not just isolated incidents. You're not crazy. Like, did I dream that? No. He used his wealth and connection to evade scrutiny for years. He got a sweetheart deal in Florida. There's some connections there with Bondi that people have pointed out. But no one actually has an answer how he got into those circles.
And how he got his money.
How he got his money. It doesn't seem to have those qualifications. And then when you look at these dumps, certainly seems like he was building leverage. Now, I would say it looks like there's definitely not a blackmail operation, but certainly a component of that. Okay, for whom? And why are so many powerful people implicated? And why did they continue their relationship after his conviction in 2008? And then why did they misrepresent that time and time again? These are valid questions. I'm not going to tell you I have the answers to them. I don't. But the people who are supposed to find them should, and they seem to have no interest in it. So we don't have any smoking gun client lists, but we do know how Epstein set up parties, for example, like to network and obviously bring a lot of these women. There were emails with redactions containing food words that obviously seem coded. And this is not a Pizzagate thing where it's not a reach. They're referring to women and girls as, like, shrimp is an example. It seems to be a code word. And also, in time for Easter, an Easter-inspired phallus.
You have what's been described as an egg-shaped penis.
Yeah. That's just interesting. I just wanted to fit that in there. Jeffrey Epstein has an egg-shaped penis, egg-shaped penis, egg-shaped penis. Epstein. Well, he did.
Well,
but, you know, some people think he's still
hard-boiled or-
alive. I would imagine soft-boiled.
Soft-boiled?
Yeah.
I was thinking sunny side up.
Sunny side up. Well, that means you have a problem. You need to see a doctor.
Yeah, there's a leak.
And there are communications with people saying, hey, you're violating your first rule. You're right. I should have been more careful. No excuse. You can look at the dumps that we have seen. And I don't know that they are more damning than the publicly available information, but it's all damning. And it necessitates follow-up questions. Just to be clear. The problem is a lot of people aren't interested in getting answers. They're interested in generating clicks. And that doesn't serve you. It does serve them. You have the same approach, by the way, with many people in this administration. Not everybody, where they want the headline, but they don't want the follow-up. Well, right now is time to demand the follow-up from all of them, to be clear. I don't think it's an unreasonable ask. I understand sometimes people want access to information that might be related to national security. I get that. You can't get all of the information, but there are victims that are already out there in public. There are flight logs that are publicly available. There have been plenty of depositions taken. There has been testimony. Now these new files, nothing coming of it. So check all the references and you let me know if there's anything that I've missed. If you feel like this helps you kind of get a grasp on it better, because I definitely think that a lot of people feel as though they're tilting at windmills.
Yes, and we need. This is not an indictment on, Dan or anybody else. We need to see it because we need to get rid of the conspiracy theories and know the truth.
Right.
There's no reason that we shouldn't be able to see an accused pedophile's suicide file.
Right.
That shouldn't impact national security, right? I mean, it shouldn't impact anything that makes it to where we can't see it. We need to see that because we need to move through this process and know what happened and get justice for people who were involved. That's what we need.
I don't even just think justice for the people involved. Like when Andrew Breitbart revealed the Anthony Weiner scandal, it's about the amount of leverage that can be used. How much leverage is there on elected officials? Is that why some of their decisions seem to defy reason? Like, we may not be able to dole out justice for all the victims. But I think we're at a point where we need to eliminate active threats, meaning if we have people in our ranks as our representatives who are under the thumb of this kind of leverage, blackmail ring, whatever you want to call it, we need to know. And that we definitively do not. That's a problem. Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.